What do you get when you combine simplified practice marketing, proven ROI strategy, and Van skate shoes? You get Mark Thackeray, of course. So lace up, grab your green smoothie, and get ready, because this is Dental Marketing Secrets. And this is Mark.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets podcast, where we provide actionable tips and tricks that you can take and apply immediately to grow your practice so you can serve more patients and ultimately leave a greater impact, because that is what it's all about, my friends. My name is Mark Thackeray, and as always, I'm excited to be here with you today, wherever you may be listening. So excited that you're spending time here on the Dental Marketing Secrets podcast. It's going to be worth your while. I have a very special guest with me. Lorie Streeter joins me, who's the Vice President of the American Association of Dental Office Management, or AADOM. And I'm so excited for this because we had a pre-call before, and she has a wealth of experience that plays right into what we're going to be discussing. And we're really going to dive into the office manager and how to get your office manager involved and why that's such a crucial position when it comes to marketing your practice. So, but first off, welcome, Lorie. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm happy to be here and happy to be here with your audience. So very exciting. I'm residing here in Washington State, so it's a beautiful day today, and really excited to talk with you.
Yeah. Are you guys, do you guys see any of the smoke from California all the way up there? Because we've seen some over here in Utah.
Absolutely. It's a little smoky today, but I saw a little bit of blue sky peeking through, so I'll take the combination and hoping that calms down soon and we can all breathe freely soon.
I know, right? We've all kind of been watching that with anticipation that it'll die down a little bit, and oh man, crazy times. But so let's start off with this, Lorie. Why don't you give us take a couple of minutes and explain your background? You know, I mentioned it before, but you just have a whole history of great experience to speak on this subject. So take a minute and walk us through your career path, if you will, your background.
I'd be happy to. Dentistry in my mind was like a complete gift. I tell people all the time, I started out in ophthalmology and in a medical practice, and I'm working my way down the body. When I get to podiatry, I'm done, right? Head to feet, but I got stuck right there in dentistry. It was completely by accident, and I've had a 31-year career so far that has been just a blessing and a really great experience to work with dentists across the country in my role now. But I started out as an office manager, and I did that for 12 years in Fresno, California. I worked for a couple of great dentists, one who's retired now and one who's still practicing. Shout out to Dr. Lou Cohen. Awesome. Here's the great thing about being an office manager, back before AADOM was even a thing, was that, you really had to find your own resources, and that position is so undervalued. It's better now. But at the time that I was an office manager, it really was an undervalued, kind of overlooked position because there was no understanding to it. So I spent a lot of time watching everyone in the practice go to, the state dental show and that type of thing. And me going, where's my CE? What do I do? How do I grow? Fast forward, and a lot of little experiences along the way. I worked for Smile Brands. I worked for, which was then called Bright Now Dental, for almost 5 years. And I learned how to drive new patients into dental practices, which was, feet on the street, practical experience, learning from the ground up. And then traveled to Minnesota, where I lived for 11 years and worked for Patterson Dental for a while, and then met AADOM. So I've kind of had a mixture of office manager experience, marketing experience, and then being able to work for one of the best dental associations in the country. So very lucky to be the vice president of the organization. My role is a creative one, and I assist in many of the executive team's decisions. And I just absolutely love being able to create things for office managers today. But I know that you want to talk about marketing. So I'll lob that ball back to you, and can't wait to get started.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue too, just because I think, what you, especially, recently what you guys have done with AADOM and bringing greater attention and focus to the position of office manager, because historically it has been very undervalued, oftentimes underappreciated, because there was a lack of understanding surrounding that role, so
For sure.
well, let's start there and kind of unpack that a little bit. From an office manager standpoint, what does the typical day look like as an office manager?
Oh my gosh. Well, I can certainly tell you that it's probably very different when I was an office manager 12 years ago, but I liken it to a small hurricane packed with a tornado and then an explosion of awesome patience. So, every office manager is a little bit different. And just to clarify to begin with, there are practices all across the country that we have found that have a person who is the office manager, but they don't have the title. So for those dentists that are listening today and any other team members, there's probably a person, I would say Susie or Jim, and they're that manager, but they may not necessarily be called office manager. So first of all, a typical day is, number one, I'm hoping everyone has a team huddle, and the office manager has a huge part to play in that. But throughout the day, it's number one, serving patients, and by utilizing, and this is why the centrifugal position of the office manager is so critical. They are not only working with the hygienist on the schedule, they are not only working with the dentist on their schedule, not only working and greeting their patients, they're working on treatment plans and talking to insurance companies, and they're working on making sure that they're HIPAA compliant and OSHA compliant. I mean, I could go on and on and on. They literally wear, I used to help publish a magazine for Patterson when I worked there. And I'm telling you, one of the covers we did for the magazine was literally a gal wearing like 30 hats. Because at the end of the day, that's really what they're doing. On top of that, add like a clown face with juggling. Because they're juggling all the time. So the details of the job are such that you could make a list and forget 20 things on the list. That's how many things they have to do throughout the day. So, I'm hearing now, I apologize for interrupting, but
that's okay.
Now with COVID and the situation, all the things they have to do on top of that, they are now trying to be, CDC friendly and compliant on helping make sure that temperatures and all the other things. So we just added a whole nother layer to their already very busy job.
Right. And it's not in just one specific area. Like you were saying, I mean, it deals with the hygienist, it deals with the dentist, it deals with the clinical side, it deals with the patients. Then it dives into insurance. And then, you've got this whole other layer that's been added on because of what's going on with COVID and everything like that. And it's just, and it changes, like you said. I mean, just like, what did you say, a hurricane and a tornado, like that just can change direction at any moment. I thought that was such a perfect analogy, because you never really know the path it's going to take. And so you have to be ready to accept that assignment and then figure out how you're going to complete that, especially with all the other things you have going on.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Mark, I think that's one of the things I loved about being a dental office manager is that no 2 days were the same.
Right.
The patients, the quality of care that we were able to give, and the ever-changing world of being in a dynamic that can shift at any moment. And I think, to that point, I know we're going to talk about marketing today, but one of the things that's so fascinating about a dental practice is that each one is kind of a unique family.
Yes.
And how you talk about packaging, like if I were to go into a room and you said, okay, you have 2 minutes to talk about the entire dynamic of your practice, the office manager's view of that is by far the widest portal, right? You're looking at that and you're saying, okay, I have a window into every single team member, clinical and non, what everyone does. And I know my dentist in a way that maybe his patients don't know him, because I get to work with him 24/7 basically. So.
Yeah. And that's really, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, because you are exactly right, Lorie. The office manager sits in a very unique position and has the most comprehensive view of the entire practice, really, because you're sitting with the doctor, you're sitting with the hygienist, more of who they are and what they're, why they do things and their goals and aspirations, but also from the patient side. And then the other team members too, the analogy of a family that you brought up was another great one, because they are, they're like the mom of the family or the dad of the family, where they really bring everyone together. And I found too, that if I go there, what did you say? Their view is often the most, maybe the most true or the most accurate, because it touches on all those different points. And so from a marketing standpoint, yeah, that's the person I really like to tap into, so that I can get a better, more holistic view of what's going on. So talk about a little bit about that. Why should the office manager be involved in marketing? If for those that don't have an office manager that's involved in marketing, why should they be? Make that case first, and then we can kind of dive into some of the specific things that we can do marketing wise.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things. Marketing always came natural for me. So fortunately, the dentist that I worked for many years, his last name started with a B. So he was at the beginning of the Yellow Pages book. So that was always the best marketing ever, right?
Right.
So from the standpoint of the marketing role, we're growing, and I think some practices actually have marketing people in their practice or companies that they work with, which I highly recommend. I love having a designated person, but the office manager has this unique perspective, I believe. So I knew each of the players in my team family dynamic. I knew what things they were the best at. I knew the things that challenged them. And so I had a good perspective. I don't know how many dentists out there have heard their office manager say, let's say if you have multiple hygienists and a patient comes in or calls, that office manager will intuitively say, I'm going to go ahead and put you with Jenny. I think, Jenny, you would be a great fit. They're again, intuitively looking at the holistic nature of personalities and timing and unique skill sets of individuals. They're using their ability to decipher calls on the phone and then fit them into with a team member that they think is best. So just using that as an example, I think overall, just like you said, just like a mom or a dad, they're instinctively, trying to fit the patient into the practice the best way that they can. So what a better basis for marketing than your office manager who really understands every team member's, idiosyncrasies down to perfectionistic qualities to clinical abilities. So I think from that standpoint, the office manager has the best viewpoint to then take that vision and say, how are we going to market the practice? And what message do I want to send out into the community about my practice? So what we find at AADOM is that, especially the managers that we work with, and we have 10,000 members nationwide now, that they really understand how to speak to the community about the practice, because their practice is their community.
Yeah, I love that. And, that's something I hadn't thought about as much when you were talking about their discerning ability to, okay, you're going to go with, Dr. Jenny today, for example, just because they can, like you said, intuitively recognize that that's going to be a better fit for the patient and the doctor or the provider or whomever it might be. And just to create, you think about the patient experience that creates, where you're really hand selecting the right person for the job. And that's so true. And I love what you said too about understanding the patients, understanding the community. They really are in that best position to articulate, the strengths of a given practice, and just say, this is what we do best. And I think they also recognize, conversely, the challenges or the things that they might not be as good at, so they might not want to be broadcasting that message, or, they would want to focus on those things that they are a good fit for example.
Yes, for sure. And there is kind of a polarity there, that if you sat down a room and a team with an office manager in it and said, guess what, office manager, you are now going to be responsible for marketing, she'd probably scream. Her head would explode. Not another job. job, one of those kind of things, throw all of our hats all over the place. So, it's a delicate discussion. And I think today your goal is to set the tone for why the office manager and why the office manager should be involved. So I want to make sure that I don't overestimate the abilities of having, a million things to do in a day, and stating that the office this has to be a great fit. So a great fit would be, we're going to carve out time for you to be able to help with this or take this over or whatever the case may be. And I'm sure that you and I will give some practical solutions on how to do that. But we don't, not necessarily want to say, well, the office manager should do that, because nobody wants to, have a should put on them. I think the way I would articulate it is that you and I are saying, look at the vision that they have of the practice and how they can work with the dentist to develop the messaging of who they truly are. I mean, it's that whole, everybody talks about, living your mission, Simon Sinek, the whys, the hows, that's all, yes, do all that. But in essence, also trust your office manager to know the practice as well as you do as a practitioner, and know it from a different vantage point that you might not be able to see. So trusting, allowing people to share with you. I don't know if the neatest thing I've ever seen, and I'll just share with you quick, Mark, is a couple of friends of mine that have Facebook groups and that kind of thing. They'll say, what's one word people use to describe you? And that part is great. It's easy for us to say, oh, I'm creative. The practice is patient-centric, we're kind. But when you hear someone else talk about your practice, it changes things because they see it from a perspective. So even taking the time as a dentist to ask the office manager, how would you describe our practice internally? And let them articulate that. And then how would you describe our practice to the world, to our community? And let them articulate. It's a really good lesson to listen. Yeah. And you might just hear something that you need to shift and change, or you might hear something that, warms your heart enough that you're like, oh my gosh, that's the message we need to put out there as to the community about our practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can just gain so much clarity that way. And I totally agree with you, Lorie, where if you go and ask a practice manager specific questions about, how patients perceive the practice or anything like that, you're generally going to get, I found, a little bit more authentic, a little bit more true to form answer than sometimes, a doctor or provider, just because they're optimistic that they can serve everyone. And that's great. I mean, you should be. But I think oftentimes, as a practice manager or office manager, you get both sides of the story. You see the clinical side and how they were treated, but then you also get the patients. Maybe you're receiving those phone calls after to manage a situation, and so you get the whole comprehensive view. And even though one side may be trying to do this or that, it may be perceived differently. And so yeah, I feel like they have that wonderful insight that they can give. And a lot of times I found almost all of them to be very, very open about that, so I love talking to office managers about that specifically.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's dive into, let's go into some of the more practical ways, again, and I love what you said, just because we're not suggesting by any means to give the marketing mantle over to your office manager and add that to her long list of to-dos and her ever increasing plate of responsibilities. But it's more to take into consideration his or her thoughts, because they have really, really good perspective on everything and a great pulse on the community and the practice at large. So with that in mind, let's talk about some practical things, maybe some things that you did, Lorie, to generate new patients. New patients is always a hot topic. But also just marketing in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So quick story. When I was hired to work at Bright Now Dental, I had a territory I started with like 3 dental practices to market, and then it grew to, I think, 19. Yeah. So Every single one has a different personality. And because I was an office manager, I had a completely different perspective on developing the rapport with that practice and understanding their personality. But I divided my time, number one, always, everyone knows this. There is no better new patient than someone referred by an existing patient. That's just bottom line.
Amen.
I spent a lot of time researching the lifetime value of a patient, and there's so many variables there. The bottom line is, if you need new patients, you've got to look at it holistically from the inside out and say, okay, you really want to, how a good word to use would probably be, the connection to the community and the connection to other businesses. So if you don't mind me diving into the weeds a little bit,
No, absolutely.
I think a lot of times, we, how do I say this? We sponsor a baseball team when everybody can play baseball, and we have our name on the back of the shirt, and we go, woohoo, we did marketing. And I think there's so many people, there's a lot of people still using fax machines. I mean, no judgment, just it is what it is.
Right.
We're all doing a little bit different level of that, but I really broke my marketing down into B2B and B2C. So to be very, very clear, patient internal referrals and asking for the referral, always number one in my book. But secondarily, looking at what's available into your community and saying, okay, I want to take a two-legged approach on this, where I want to really reach out to the community, and I also want to really reach out to independent businesses. And that's the part that kind of scares people. And that's the part that, for myself, one of the things that I left out was when I was in Minnesota, I started my own marketing company and marketed for several dental practices for over 10 years. So I think really looking at those two pieces, and I'm happy to dive into either one, whichever one you want to start with.
Let's start with that, because let's just finish that thought with the B2B or the community-based approach. What are you looking for in the community then?
So right now, obviously, we live in a different time where, I used to be very proactive when it came to health fairs and my dentist going out and speaking at community events. And, there are always things in the community where other people and companies and entities and associations are all looking for guest speakers. If you have a really outgoing dentist, there is no reason why they can't go out and speak about the latest and greatest in oral health. And it's a huge topic. I mean, I'm a huge oral cancer supporter. That whole piece alone is a marketing campaign. Right. And I don't mean to diminish the idea of, it's just a marketing campaign. It's one of the most important things the dentist can be talking about. So, working with associations and companies that, really give you a packaged ideal about oral cancer is huge. I love Oral Cancer Cause, Linda Miles and Robin Morrison. I think that a dentist can utilize the things that they give to their patients that are just routine, like an oral cancer screening.
Yes.
They can talk about that all throughout their community. And now what's so great is you can Zoom record it and get your name out there, offer the Zoom recording, offer it as a wellness thing for a business, which crosses over into the business side, which I'll get to in a moment. But figuring out how to be involved. So if it were me and I was on a limited budget and I had limited time, I would be saying, okay, I want to be in my community at least ideally once a month. If nothing else, once a quarter. There's always something going on in your community at least once a month or once a quarter. So that's where I would be starting. So I would really look at then how to pull through the new patient without being tacky or asking for the referral, overtly. I would basically be like, I'm Dr. Smith and we have an amazing practice over on L Street. We are accepting new patients. And if you'd like to come in and have a complimentary consultation about oral cancer, that's where I would be going. Yeah. And I would be figuring out out-of-box ways right now to be able to do it virtually. And I think all these platforms that are available, and we're all getting more tech savvy because we've had to be, wonderful ways for a dentist in the evening even to record this and then offer this to their community.
I love that, because so many so many people are online now. They've been forced to move online because of what's happened with COVID, that they're looking for content. Like you said, they're always hunting down content. And this is great content that people really need to know about. And so it's generally an easy yes for a lot of people that are producing content on a regular basis. And I love too that you can do it. You can just do it from your home. I mean, you don't have to even go out in public right now. But you can repackage that content too on your social media, maybe an email campaign in different ways too. So it gives it longer legs.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that you hit on in terms of packaging it differently, you can take, a minute or two snippet of it and put it on your social media. It can drive content there. The other thing that I think is really impactful in the community and a very overlooked area of need is nursing homes and assisted living facilities.
Yes.
So here's the thing about that. A lot of dentists might feel, and let's just be really transparent here, I'm not sure that that's a great new patient for me because they're getting a certain kind of care. They may be denture related and that type of thing. But what you forget about is there's 30 people that work at that facility, or 50 people that work at that facility, or 10 people that work at that facility. And you have a relationship with that business and those caregivers are who's going to hear about your wonderful how to care for your dentures video that you're going to put out, how to help, maybe it's something where you do a training for the 30 people that work at the care facility and you teach them how to help their patients and their people that are in the facility, how to take care of their appliances. I mean, this is endless, really, what you can do with it. I would say stick with your skills. If you are a great explainer of procedures and you don't mind holding up a denture with a toothbrush and making it super simple, that you can give that to them. Everyone is looking for those kind of things. We're so busy in our day-to-day, Mark, that we don't think, beyond our day-to-day. We stay there and say, I'm going to take care of my patients. I'm going to go home to my family. Go home to your family, take 5 minutes and film a how-to video.
Simple. Yeah.
Simple.
And they do this all day long when people are coming in. They naturally do this. And so you might feel a little nervous at first, but once you get into it, you'll find this is old hat. You've done this 700 times before in the last couple of weeks, Exactly.
And, if they had a hidden camera and they didn't know they were being filmed, they would do it with ease and it would be fine. And there's so many awesome softwares now that you can, add your logo to the video or put a phone number at the bottom. It isn't, and I guarantee you there's somebody in your practice that is savvy enough to take your video that you filmed on your phone and turn it into a little fun, story video or anything like that, again, you can use in multiple places. So the other thing is just not overlooking opportunities just because you think it might not yield the type of patient that would be, long-term for your practice.
Yeah. And that's interesting on that note, going back to the assisted living centers, as you were talking about that, I thought of it more as a source of referrals because like you mentioned, there's certainly the residents there, but there's also those who treat, the caregivers there. And so, but it's really it becomes a source. It's not just a one-time patient that you're going after, but it's really becomes a new referral source for you. And that's strategically, if you're going to do this and be smart about it, you want to set up these referral sources as opposed to just going after the single new patient. So I love that idea.
I'll give you one more and then we can move on to B2B. So the other one, I've heard this for years. So about schools, especially elementary schools. Well, we go, we do it, and we give out stickers, we give out a little bag with toothbrushes, and nothing ever comes of it because it doesn't usually get back to the parents, and the parents have to make the decision. Well, guess what? A lot of kids are online now. And what benefit would you be giving a teacher if they got just a few-minute break and was able to show a best practices brushing your teeth commercial from their local dental office?
Right.
Don't sit back and say that doesn't work because I can't go into school anymore, or that didn't work before. We have a whole new audience now in a whole different way. And I'm sure a teacher would love to have a few-minute break while you explain simple oral hygiene. And how does that benefit long-term? There are multiple teachers in that school.
Oh.
They all have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You're not necessarily just doing it out of the goodness of your heart for the kid. Yes, that's what happens. That's the outcome, right? You're going to, maybe a little kid will brush their teeth better because you did this video. But secondarily, that teacher's going to go, wow, you know what? I heard about Dr. Smith and my friend goes there. I need to call and make an appointment.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty. I loved, and you really hit the nail on the head with this thought that, hey, you're giving the teacher a break a little bit too. So it's really understanding, okay, because I think a lot of providers are saying, a lot of dentists, a lot of even hygienists that are looking to do community outreach are thinking, well, what do I have to offer? Nobody wants to hear this, but the reality is, like in this situation, you are providing a brief kind of repose, a little pause for the teacher, not have to stress about what they're teaching right that moment, but they can provide something valuable. And the same thing applies to any, like we were talking about before, but any outlet that's constantly looking for content to publish, that is a problem that they face every single day. And so if you can tap into that and understand, situationally what's going on and really alleviate that problem, it's going to be so easy for them to be like, yes, I'd love to have you on as a guest and talk about oral cancer,
Yeah. And here's the thing, Mark, in every one of these examples, I guarantee you that every practice has somebody that works in an assisted living facility, has somebody that works in the community, whether it be a soccer team or a venue of some kind where this would be applicable. And for sure, every dentist has teachers as patients. So I think there are three ways in this environment, and honestly, on into when we're all back and there's less social distancing and we're moving into more of our, whatever that, I hate that word, new normal, but whatever that's going to look like, right?
Right.
Moving in and saying, there's some benefits with the situation that we have now where we all can be more creative with our communities. And, people are needing that connection right now more than ever. So looking at ways that you can serve, and yet as a marketing strategy, pulling through to that, brand awareness, loyalty build, all the things that we want our patients to trust us in order to bring their care to our practice.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. It's so true. And as I look back on how marketing has changed and evolved, you see more and more how businesses are looking to collaborate more often than not. It's become a very much a collaboration society as opposed to a competitive society. You look at this, you see this all the time, and it could be movies. You can see it in music. A lot of times, artists will do a song together so that they can reach different audiences. And you see, this whole concept of collaborating is so prevalent right now, and it's so powerful because now you tap into that audience that already has trust with the person that you're collaborating with, and so you're not spending your time trying to build awareness and showcase and demonstrate your credibility, but you do tap into that and can provide additional value, and it's really neat. It's kind of the smart, sneaky way to do it, but yeah, it's important to remember that as you look at these opportunities. And you mentioned, just right off the cuff, a lot of different opportunities, whether it's a soccer program that you can come in and maybe you're talking to them about mouth guards or something like that, something that's applicable to that situation. But you can find dozens and dozens of these opportunities if you just take a minute, look at what's around you, and then identify what type of value could I provide to this particular company or this group in the community.
Yep. Optimal once a month.
Yeah.
Minimum once a quarter.
Okay.
On the B2C side.
Yeah.
That's that's what I would like to see. And all of the things that we talked about, I'll give you a great example of that is that I secretly love Justin Bieber. And he did a duet with Ed Sheeran. I didn't even know. I know, living in a box here, I didn't know who Ed Sheeran was. But when he collaborated with Justin Bieber, there it was.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that a lot of dentists have other pals that are in, study clubs with them, or oral surgeons, specialty, endo, pedo. I mean, you literally could get together and kind of do a video together. I mean, we are in we're in an opportunity zone for collaboration right now.
Yeah. So many opportunities. If you just look at, okay, what other companies do, or organizations do my patients frequent or participate in, and you just reach out to them and say, hey, figure out what you can do to serve each other,
Yeah.
and it's so cool because it activates this whole creative side, that a lot of us don't think of, when it comes to marketing, so it's really fun. So talk to us too. I know we're kind of coming up on time, but let's focus let's focus on referrals. So you mentioned that is the number one source. And I totally agree with you. There are people that trust you more because there's a built-in trust with the person who referred them. They listen to you. They're more, they adhere to what you say better. They tend to negotiate less and they stay longer as patients. Like that's, what more could you ask for, right? So talk to us about that approach. What would you recommend offices to do to generate more referrals?
Okay, so this is my favorite thing to talk about. So glad we saved this for the end. So, I'm certainly not going to claim to be an expert when it comes to asking for referrals. There are so many ways to do that. And internally, really priming your team to talk about the practice, especially when it's open for new patients. So many times we hear, I can't get into Dr. Smith. He's booked out for 3 months, or, hygiene wise, and he's booked out and they don't have any appointments. And, obviously we're in an ebb and flow right now with COVID, but
right.
Those are the types of things you hear. They're busy. If you're a practice that's looking for new patients and you're open for that, of course, asking your patients, friends and family first and foremost.
Right.
But I like to really think creatively. And as we are somewhat paperless now, most offices, and we still get some type of EOB or explanation of benefits, obviously, from our insurance companies.
Yeah.
We understand which companies have the best benefits, which employers in our community. So let's say you have a factory of some kind that produces, I'm going to go with some kind of candy bar. Okay, so we know that the candy bar factory is in our town. We have a lot of patients from the candy bar factory, and they have great benefits. So how do you ask for referrals from people that work for the candy factory, right? Mm-hmm. I personally would go straight to the HR department, have those videos we were talking about in the community, and go straight to the employer themselves. And I would ask for referrals because you can't say who they are, but what you can say to an employer is, we see over 20 of your employees already, and we would love to continue that. And although we know you probably don't have, we have solicitation rules, we'd like to provide you some content to help the overall oral health of your employees. So let us provide you with a couple of videos. And if in turn, if we could, drop off some toothbrushes, that would be great, or whatever the case may be that you think is, a marketable item for your practice. You would be surprised how many, especially the mid-level size employers. So let me break this down. You're looking for low-hanging fruit. In other words, like you would look at a gold mine report of your uncompleted treatment, right?
Right.
You're looking for the same thing within your own practice. For how many times does a dentist have a patient in the chair and he says, yeah, my brother works over at the candy factory. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know your brother. Right. Oh my gosh, you know what? We have this awesome thing we do for employers. We will actually send out a couple, oral cancer screening videos, what to watch for. We have a sugar one that we can send out to parents for their kids. Those types of things in communication in the practice lead to referrals, either referrals to the right person to talk to or referrals to just a simple new patient. Yeah, I'm going to tell my brother about you or whatever. So I think looking at B2B as an opportunity for referrals is an awesome way to support your practice growth because, again, every single person in the practice has a significant other sometimes that works someplace, has a family member that works someplace. We all have that connection and we don't tap into it from the dental office perspective enough. So,
Absolutely. And like you said, you look for those opportunities that have the least amount of friction, so if you have you have patients that already are employed by that company, and then you already know that you accept their insurance, like that removes some major barriers to other additional employees coming to see your practice. And so you look for those things that are aligning up to make that pathway even smoother for the patient to come to you.
and I think this is the connection with the office manager, Mark, because nobody knows that segment better than the office manager because they're dealing with the insurance day in and day out. So you get the check or the payment that comes in, you're like, oh, I love Radical Insurance because Radical Insurance pays XYZ. And you're like, I wish all patients had that Radical Insurance, right? So I think that's a great way to connect the office manager back in because they really know and again have that pulse on. It's kind of like we used to call them years ago, kind of like we would use terms like know-it-all or busybody.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is like a complete in the know about every patient because that's their job.
Yeah.
And that's who they are. That's what makes a great office manager is knowing and being able to share those things. And I think pulling through and saying, a dentist might be listening to this going, okay, well, who's going to do this? No, it's not as hard as it sounds. And a couple simple referrals and a couple simple companies to work with on a regular basis. I will only caution this. When you have a new patient and they come in and they're referred by a family member, if something happens and they don't like the office, they just tell that person. When you work with a company, they might go back and tell everybody. Mm-hmm. So as we all should be on our best behavior, you really have to be mindful that you might be gaining 20 or 30 new patients from this one patient, or you might be losing some because of a bad experience. So I want to make sure that both sides of the coin are kind of looked at there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great way to make sure that happens is to coordinate with your office manager and just have him or her let everyone know, hey, this patient's coming in, they're brand new to the practice. They really do represent that entire organization that we're looking to work with. And so if this goes well, there's a great possibility that we will see an influx of additional employees from this company. Conversely, just kind of paint the picture and say there's a lot hanging in the balance right now. So it's up to us to deliver an exceptional experience and make sure everyone has their game face on and treat that patient like that patient deserves to be treated.
Absolutely. And I can tell you from 10 years of experience owning my own marketing company that you can literally double your new patients if you kind of mindset this philosophy into your practice. Because my favorite marketing quote, and I have no idea who said it, but you have to have mind share before market share. So mind share really means that you're building that level of trust outside of your practice. Before they even get there, they have some level of connection with you because someone knew you, or they saw you, or they watched a video that you have to build that mind share first. And when they come in, it's so much easier to talk about the treatment that they need because you've had that initial connection with them.
Absolutely. That's a great quote. I just wrote that down. Actually, I've been taking, I don't know if you can see my sheet, but I've got like all these notes up and down this page. So I'm going to steal all these ideas.
Absolutely.
But they're so great. And honestly, just taking one of these ideas and running with it and doing it consistently month after month, you are going to see some results. And that's what's so powerful about this. You turn this into a system and a process that gets done on a regular basis. And it becomes, like we talked about, a new source of patients for you. And it's so cool. That's what I love about marketing. I get so excited about. Okay, so we're up at the time. So I wanted to talk about, I know you had something very special for for AADOM, for those that are interested in the American Association of Dental Office Management. Tell us about that. What is this? And just, please fill us in on this, because it's
absolutely. I'll make it quick because it's very easy to talk about. So AADOM, and that's AYDOM. We say it's like, some people go, what's AADOM? It's like, it's AADOM. And that's the easiest way to say it because the American Association of Dental Office Management is a mouthful. Mm-hmm. But it was started 16 plus years ago by our president, Heather Colicchio, who saw a tremendous need for office managers to be supported. And I can tell you, as that office manager who did not have any kind of lifeline, I couldn't talk to other office managers because they were competitors and, we didn't want to do that. AADOM bridges that gap for everyone. So AADOM is an association that right now serves over 10,000 members nationwide. We have 70 chapters nationwide, might be one in your area. And if you're a dentist listening to this podcast about marketing and you're thinking about your office manager, whether her title is, or him, title is practice administrator, office manager, CEO, CFO, I mean, they're all run the gamut now. And whether you have a small or large practice, AADOM is a very, very, very small investment to make with a huge return. So we have forums and education and tons of webcasts on marketing, and podcasts of our own and things that are specific to your office manager. Mm-hmm. So I can't say enough great things. And I can tell you, I was on that island. I did not have a life preserver. I was on my own, had to learn everything by myself. That's gone now. So AADOM took that away. And for a very small amount a year, your office manager can earn CE, earn his or her fellowship. We have 3 different distinctions. I can't say enough about the plethora of options for AADOM and AADOM members. What I wanted to do today is also share, depending on the timing of the podcast, September is Office Manager Appreciation Month. So we're going into that awesome celebration. And I can't tell you enough about how important it is for you to appreciate every team member, and including with that, your office manager, because as we've explained for the last several minutes, office managers have a really unique perspective on the practice and can teach us all so much. You might even be a dentist that manages your practice, your own practice, and there's nothing wrong with joining AADOM just to have this level of support. So I have a special code for you, Mark, to share with your listeners. AADOM membership is normally $169 a year, which for all the free education, all the benefits is like a couple cups of coffee. So
that's nothing. I know.
It's really priced so well, and we want to make it easy because, frankly, there are some dentists who don't think that their office managers need CE. And I got to tell you, if I can do anything today is shake up your marketing and shake up your mindset there. Office managers absolutely need to keep up with trends. I can tell you really quick, during the start of COVID, we had a couple HR experts on our Facebook Live and had like 65,000 views because all of the office managers around the country were trying to figure out what the heck to do. So you want that office manager educated. And for your listeners, I have a code. It's OMAM, so like Office Manager Appreciation Month, OMAM 20. And that will give someone AADOM membership for $130 a year. And I don't know about you, but I spend that on a short grocery store run. I can't tell you that the $39 savings, obviously, but AADOM is life-changing. And it's life-changing in a way that you start as an office manager who feels like they have no resources but their internal team and what they've been taught. And you basically break open their egg and let them, experience hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of office managers across the country, and some in their very state with the same regulations and same thought processes. So it's just opening up a world for them, and it's a huge change. So in a great way. So thank you for letting me share that, though, because I don't like to do anything without sharing a little bit of AADOM, because AADOM has been we have so many people who've said it literally changed my whole career because it just opens you up to other people with like-minded situations and thought processes.
Absolutely. If nothing else, you just gained a sense of community and knew that you were not alone on this island anymore. It would be way worth it, but there's so much more to it. And that's what I love about this. What you guys are doing is really for, like you said, I mean, we're talking about coffee once a month for the year, pretty much, and this will give you that membership that gives you access to so many wonderful, training, education, but also just connection and collaboration. We talked about collaboration before, and just, again, maybe you're getting 1-2 new ideas a month, but those ideas can springboard your practice to the next level. So it's just, it's so powerful. I love what you're doing. It's that code again is OMAM20. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. And for those of you that are like, "Ooh, I don't know. It sounds like I need to maybe tap my toe in the water." AADOM has what's called a test drive, and you get some, simple benefits to start. And you can go to dentalmanagers.com. It's dentalmanagers.com, and check out the website and check out all the benefits. And I just can't say enough about the power of collaboration.
So awesome. So that's dentalmanagers, plural.com, dentalmanagers with an S, .com. And you can do either the test drive, a membership, or you can use this code that Lorie just gave you, OMAM20, and save $39 on the annual membership, bringing it down to only $130. I feel like I should say that's $130 a month, but that's for the entire year.
Right.
That's how good of a value this really is. So check that out. I think you'd be doing your office manager a huge favor if you were to do that. So, but Lorie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate this. I'm going to have you back regularly if I can. If I can convince you to come back, I would love to have you back. You have so much insight. I thought, like I said, I took a page of notes, and I'm excited to broadcast this out and help practices take some of these steps to up-level their marketing efforts. So any last comments?
Yeah, a couple of things. So as you look at marketing, remember, you are marketing your family. You are showing your family's true colors. Make sure to have the conversations, make sure to listen, and really understand what message you want to give to your community about your practice. That genuine integrity of your honest expression of your practice will resonate with lots of people. You want to, like attracts like. You want to attract patients who are like you. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, selfishly, is invest in your office manager, because it will be an investment in your practice that will last a lifetime. So I really appreciated the time with you. I'll come back anytime you want. You're so easy to talk to. And our whole goal at AADOM is to empower office managers across the country. And we know that in order to do that, we have to keep communicating the message to dentists that this role is really important in the practice, as they all are. Right. And, a great office manager equals a great practice equals a great team. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lorie. And I got to say thanks to my friend, Jeff Glauser at Interstate Specialties for connecting us. I'll be sure to reach out to him and let him know. But this was tremendous, Lorie. So much great content, and we will definitely have you back on in the future. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Take care.
Hey, you too.
Did you enjoy this episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast? Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And for more proven marketing strategies to grow your practice, visit practicerocket.net.